This 4-year-old beggar girl is roughly kicked out of a millionaire's father's funeral, but when she reveals who she is, everyone is shocked. Comment on what you think will happen. Your opinion is very important, and subscribe to my channel to support my work. Your help is very important. The icy wind of June sliced through the streets of Harmony Creek like a razor, carrying the smell of damp earth and wilted flowers from the town cemetery. It was a grey morning, typical of a Pennsylvania summer, when the first mourners began to arrive for the funeral of Richard Sterling, the 72-year-old patriarch who had controlled the town's most prosperous businesses for decades. Among the expensive flower arrangements and dark suits of the attendees, a small figure stood out completely from the solemn scene. Lily, just 6 years old, walked barefoot between the tombstones, her small feet leaving marks in the wet ground. Her blue dress, which may once have been pretty, was now torn and dirty, revealing scraped elbows and bruised knees. In her thin arms, she carried a worn-out rag doll, whose fabric face was so faded that its features were barely distinguishable. The girl approached the group of mourners with hesitant steps, her big, dark eyes fixed on the mahogany casket that gleamed in the dim morning light. She whispered incomprehensible words, rocking the doll as if she were lulling a real child to sleep. Some of those present began to feel uncomfortable with her presence, whispering to each other and casting disapproving glances. Gary Sterling, 42, watched the scene with a face twisted in irritation. Tall and stocky, with dark hair already graying at the temples, he had small, hard eyes that seemed to judge everything around him. He wore an impeccable black suit, but his rigid posture revealed the tension he carried in his broad shoulders. "What the heck is that brat doing here?" he muttered to his wife, Karen, a 38-year-old woman with neatly styled blonde hair and perfectly manicured nails. She held an expensive leather purse against her chest, as if it were a shield against anything that could tarnish her reputation. "I don't know, but she's drawing attention," Karen replied, her tone revealing more concern for appearances than for the child's situation. Lily continued to approach, oblivious to the whispers around her. When she reached the casket, she extended her small, dirty hand toward the polished wood, trying to touch it. Her voice, though low, echoed in the respectful silence of the cemetery. "Grandpa Richard," she murmured, her words filled with a sadness that seemed too great to fit in her small body. "I came to say goodbye. Patty said you were gone, but I wanted to talk to you one more time." The discomfort among those present intensified. Some people moved away, as if the girl's poverty were contagious. Others simply ignored her presence, concentrating on the solemn words of the priest who was conducting the ceremony. Gary could no longer contain his irritation. To him, this scene was an affront to his father's memory and to family decorum. He made an abrupt gesture to 2 security guards he had hired to maintain order during the funeral. "Get that kid out of here immediately," he ordered in a low but firm voice. "I don't want vagrants disturbing the ceremony." The security guards, 2 burly men dressed in black, approached Lily with serious expressions. The girl, noticing the movement around her, held the doll more tightly against her chest, her eyes filling with tears. "Please," she said, her voice trembling, "I just want to say goodbye to Grandpa Richard. He was always nice to me." But the security guards were not interested in her words. One of them grabbed her thin arm with unnecessary force, while the other tried to push her away from the casket. Lily began to cry, not from physical pain, but from a deep anguish that came from somewhere distant in her memory. "No!" she cried, trying to break free. "I need to talk to him. He promised he would always protect me." Her tears mingled with the earth of the cemetery as she was dragged away, screaming. The rag doll fell from her arms, lying on the wet ground as a silent witness to the cruelty she witnessed. Among the mourners, a woman watched the scene with growing discomfort. Erica Powell, 35, a journalist who had recently lost her job, was covering the funeral as a freelancer for a local newspaper. Her brown hair was tied up in a simple bun, and she wore a black blazer that had seen better days. Erica held the notepad tightly, her fingers clenching the pen as she watched the violent way the Sterling family treated a clearly vulnerable child. Something about Gary's reaction bothered her deeply. Why so much hostility directed at an innocent girl? "Let me go!" Lily shouted, being dragged toward the cemetery gate. "Grandpa Richard, help me!" The desperate cry echoed among the tombstones, causing some of those present to lower their eyes in shame. But Gary remained impassive, as if expelling a crying child was just another problem solved on his to-do list. When Lily finally disappeared through the entrance to the cemetery, carried by the security guards, a heavy silence settled over the mourners. The priest continued the ceremony, as if nothing had happened, but Erica could not get out of her mind the image of the girl being dragged like an unwanted animal. David Sterling, 15, Gary's son, remained silent throughout the scene, but his clenched fists revealed the tension he felt. Tall for his age, with dark hair like his father's, he had eyes that carried a barely contained revolt. Beside him, his sister Antonia, 12, held her mother's hand tightly, her brown eyes wide with shock. The ceremony proceeded without further interruptions, but for Erica, every word of the priest sounded empty. She couldn't stop thinking about how Lily had called Richard Grandpa, as if she knew him intimately. And above all, she couldn't forget the real desperation in the child's voice when she begged to speak to him one last time. When the casket was lowered into the ground and the last flowers were thrown on it, the mourners began to disperse. Gary received condolences with a forced smile, more concerned with keeping up appearances than with processing his own grief. Erica put the notepad in her bag, but her mind was already working. There was something deeply wrong with that story, and she had the feeling that Richard Sterling's funeral had revealed only the tip of a mystery far more complex and painful than anyone could imagine. As she walked toward the car, she looked back one last time and saw Lily's rag doll still lying on the ground, forgotten among the withered flowers and the disturbed earth. At that moment, Erica made a decision that would change not only her life, but the fate of a girl who had been brutally expelled from the last place where she hoped to find comfort. 3 days after the funeral, Erica couldn't get the image of Lily being dragged through the cemetery out of her mind. Sitting in her small, rented apartment in downtown Harmony Creek, she typed slowly on her old laptop, trying to turn her notes on the funeral into a sellable article. But the words didn't flow. Every time she tried to write about the ceremony, her mind went back to that desperate child. Erica's apartment reflected her recent financial difficulties. Simple furniture, walls with peeling paint, and a refrigerator that made strange noises during the early morning hours. Since losing her job at the local newspaper 3 months ago, she had survived on sporadic freelance work, struggling to pay the rent and basic bills. She closed the laptop in frustration and decided to go for a walk. Maybe the fresh air would help her organize her thoughts. She put on a worn wool jacket and walked through the cobblestone streets of Harmony Creek's historic center, watching the typical movement of a Thursday afternoon. That's when she saw her again. Lily was sitting on the steps of the Church of the Assumption, the same rag doll in her arms, now even dirtier than at the cemetery. Beside her, an elderly woman rummaged through a makeshift cart full of cans, plastic bottles, and cardboard. The woman, who appeared to be almost 70 years old, spoke to herself in a low voice, gesturing to the air as if she were talking to invisible people. Erica approached slowly, trying not to scare the child. Lily looked up when she saw her approaching, and for a moment, recognition shone in her eyes. "You were at the cemetery," Lily said in a surprisingly clear voice. "You saw when they sent me away." "I did," Erica replied, crouching down to be at the girl's height. "I'm so sorry for what happened. It wasn't fair." The elderly woman stopped talking to herself and looked at Erica with suspicion. Her grey hair was disheveled, and her clothes were a mixture of different pieces, some too big, others too small. But her eyes, though confused, carried a genuine kindness. "Who are you?" the woman asked. "I don't know you. Lily, don't talk to strangers." "My name is Erica," she said gently. "I'm a journalist. I was covering Mr. Sterling's funeral." "Oh, Grandpa Richard," Lily sighed, hugging the doll more tightly. "He was very good to me. He always gave me candy and told me stories." Erica felt a shiver. The way the girl spoke about Richard suggested a real intimacy, not just fantasies of an orphaned child. "I'm Patty," said the elderly woman, extending a dirty but warm hand. "This is my granddaughter, Lily. We take care of each other, don't we, my flower?" Lily nodded, but Erica noticed something strange in the dynamic between the two. The child treated Patty with affection, but also with an almost maternal protectiveness, as if she were the one who really took care of the older woman. "Do you live near here?" Erica asked, trying to get more information. "Right behind the church," Patty replied, pointing to an area not visible from the street. "We have a cozy little corner. It's not much, but it's ours." Erica excused herself and went around the church, discovering in the back a small improvised shanty town. Among wooden shacks and tarpaulins, she found Lily and Patty's house, a precarious structure made of old boards, broken tiles, and a blue tarp that served as a door. It had no electricity, running water, or any kind of basic sanitation. When she returned, she found the two organizing the recyclable material that Patty had collected during the day. Lily separated the cans with an efficiency that revealed experience in the task. "Can I ask you some questions?" Erica said, taking the notepad from her bag. "We're not going to be in the newspaper, are we?" Patty asked, suddenly alert. "We don't like to be seen. People are bad sometimes." No. It's just my curiosity," Erica lied partially. "Lily, you said you knew Mr. Sterling. How did you meet him?" The girl looked at Patty as if asking permission to speak. The elderly woman nodded distractedly, returning to organizing the cans. "He used to come visit me," Lily said simply. "Every week he would show up near the church and take me for a walk. We would go to the park. He would buy me ice cream, and then we would come back. He always said I was his special little princess." Erica felt her heart race. "And how long has this been happening?" "A long time. Since I came to live with Grandma Patty," Lily replied, using vocabulary that was definitely not typical of a street child. "He knew my mommy." "Your mommy? Where is she?" Lily's face clouded over. "She's gone. Grandma Patty says she got sick and had to go to a place far away to get better. But Grandpa Richard promised he would always take care of me until she came back." Patty stopped organizing the cans and looked at Lily with an expression of momentary confusion, as if she couldn't completely locate where she was or who she was talking to. "My granddaughter has always been very imaginative," she said, but her voice sounded insecure. "Sometimes she mixes things up." Erica realized that there was something deeply wrong with that situation. The way Lily described Richard was too detailed to be a fantasy, and Patty's reaction suggested that she herself wasn't sure what was real and what wasn't. "Lily, do you remember where you lived before you came here?" Erica asked softly. The girl frowned, concentrating intensely. "There was a big house with lots of stairs and pictures on the walls. And I had my own room with a very soft bed and real dolls. But then everything got confusing, and I woke up in a white place that smelled bad." "A hospital?" Erica suggested. "I think so. And then Grandma Patty found me and said she was going to take care of me." Patty approached quickly, with an expression of fierce protectiveness. "Enough questions. My granddaughter has already said too much. You need to leave now." Erica realized that she had touched on a sensitive subject. She put the notepad away and stood up, but before leaving, she looked into Lily's eyes. "If you need anything at all, my name is Erica Powell. I work downtown. You can look me up." Lily nodded, memorizing the name. There was an alert intelligence in her eyes that contrasted completely with her situation of abandonment. As she walked back home, Erica couldn't stop thinking about the inconsistencies in the story. Patty clearly suffered from some kind of mental confusion, but her dedication to Lily seemed genuine. The child, in turn, demonstrated knowledge and vocabulary that did not match her current life. And above all, there was the question of Richard Sterling, a rich and powerful man secretly visiting a child who lived behind a church, taking her for a walk, buying her ice cream, calling her little princess. That night, Erica sat down again in front of the laptop, but this time not to write about the funeral. She began to research the Sterling family, looking for any information that could explain the connection between the deceased patriarch and a 6-year-old street girl. What she found in the public records only deepened the mystery. Richard Sterling had 3 children: Gary, the oldest, who took over the family business; Robert, 40, who lived in Philadelphia; and a younger daughter, Clarice, who had disappeared from family records about 7 years ago. Clarice Sterling. The name echoed in Erica's mind, like a puzzle piece finally finding its place. Could she be the mother Lily mentioned, the woman who had gotten sick and gone to a place far away? As dawn approached Harmony Creek, Erica made a decision that would change the course of her investigation. The next day, she would look for someone who knew the real story of the Sterling family, someone who could explain why an abandoned child called the town's most powerful patriarch Grandpa Richard. While Erica delved into her investigation, on the other side of town, at the Sterling mansion, a heavy atmosphere had settled in since the funeral. Gary paced nervously through his father's study, shuffling papers and opening drawers with abrupt movements. His dress shirt was wrinkled, his tie loosened, and beads of sweat glistened on his forehead despite the cool morning air. "It has to be here somewhere," he muttered to himself, rummaging for the 3rd time through the solid mahogany desk that dominated the room. Dad always kept everything. Always. The door opened, and Karen entered wearing a pink silk robe, holding a cup of coffee with trembling hands. Her blonde hair was disheveled, and dark circles contrasted with her normally flawless skin. "Still looking for the documents?" she asked, her voice laden with barely disguised anxiety. "Gary, I need to know what's going on. The bills are piling up, and yesterday the bank manager called, asking about the mortgage payment." Gary stopped rummaging through the papers and looked at his wife with irritation. "You think I don't know that? You think I'm not trying to fix it?" "But fix it soon," Karen said, her voice becoming sharper. "I can't live with this uncertainty. I have social engagements. The kids have private school. We have the housekeeper to pay." "And you think I don't have enough pressure?" Gary exploded, slamming his hand on the desk. "The construction company has 3 labor lawsuits, 2 cancelled contracts, and there's still that stupid investigation into the City Hall's construction projects." The noise of the argument echoed through the house, reaching the 2nd floor where David was in his room, trying to concentrate on his studies. The teenager slammed the math book shut and stood up, walking to the window that overlooked the backyard of the property. Since the funeral, David couldn't stop thinking about the girl who had been so brutally expelled. The image of her being dragged away by the security guards disturbed him deeply, especially because he knew that his father was capable of such cruelty. "Why did you do that, Dad?" he murmured to the blurred glass of the window. "She was just a kid." A soft knock on the door interrupted him. Antonia entered the room, her rosy cheeks still marked by the tears she had cried the night before. "David, they're fighting again," she said, sitting on her brother's bed. "I'm scared." David approached his sister and hugged her protectively. At 15, he felt responsible for Antonia, especially in moments when their parents got lost in their own crises. "It's going to be okay," he lied, running his hand through his sister's brown hair. "It's just a tough phase." "David, have you also been thinking about that girl from the cemetery?" Antonia asked with the cruel honesty of children. "Why was Dad so mean to her?" The teenager sighed. That was exactly the question he was asking himself. "I don't know, Antonia. Sometimes adults do things we don't understand." Downstairs, the argument between Gary and Karen intensified. He had found some folders with financial documents, but nothing that explained the alleged secret investments that his father had made in recent years. "Dad was always secretive about business," Gary said, more to himself than to Karen. "But he promised me that he had secured our future. He said he had invested in something that would give us security forever." "Then where is that investment?" Karen asked, her patience running out. "Because what I see are bills piling up and our life falling apart." At that moment, the doorbell rang. Gary looked at his watch. It was too early for visitors. Karen adjusted her robe and went to the living room window, peeking discreetly through the curtains. "It's a woman," she said, returning to her husband. "I don't know her. She has a notepad." Gary frowned. Journalist, he thought immediately. It was the last thing he needed at that moment. "Send her away. Tell her we don't receive the press." Karen answered the door with her best fake smile, but Erica immediately noticed the tension behind the polite facade. "Good morning, Mrs. Sterling," Erica said politely. "My name is Erica Powell. I'm a journalist. I'd like to ask some questions about Mr. Richard." "I'm sorry, but we're not receiving the press at this time," Karen replied, already starting to close the door. "We are still mourning." "I understand perfectly," Erica insisted. "But actually my question is about a child who appeared at the funeral, a 6-year-old girl who seemed to know Mr. Richard well." Karen stopped closing the door, her expression changing slightly. "What child?" "A girl named Lily. She was very upset when she was removed from the ceremony." From the back of the house, Gary shouted, "Who is it, Karen?" "It's about that brat from the cemetery," Karen replied, loud enough for her husband to hear. Gary's heavy footsteps echoed through the hallway until he appeared at the door, his face red with anger. "What do you want to know about that little tramp?" Erica maintained her professional tone, despite her discomfort with Gary's language. "She seemed to know your father intimately. She called him Grandpa Richard. I thought it would be interesting for an article about his personal life." "My father never had grandchildren besides my children," Gary said dryly. "That child is a liar, probably taught by someone to try to take advantage of our family, but she knew very specific details." "Anyone can make up stories," Gary interrupted. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have important matters to attend to." Erica realized that she wouldn't get any more information there, but she carefully observed their expressions. There was something beyond simple contempt in their reactions. There was fear. Upstairs, David had overheard part of the conversation and felt his heart race. The journalist was asking about the girl from the cemetery. That meant that other people had also noticed the cruelty with which she had been treated. After Erica left, Gary returned to the study, more agitated than before. Karen followed him, her manicured nails drumming nervously on the doorframe. "Gary, what if that child really knew your father?" she asked, her voice revealing a concern that went beyond simple curiosity. "Impossible," he replied, but his voice didn't sound as convincing as before. "Dad would have told me." "Would he have? You yourself said he was secretive. What if he was helping this child in secret? What if she has rights to something?" The possibility hit Gary like a punch in the stomach. If there was any legal connection between Lily and his father, it could further complicate the family's already desperate financial situation. "No," he said, more to convince himself, "I'm not going to let some street urchin destroy what's left of our family." But as he spoke, an uncomfortable memory surfaced in his mind. In the last months of his life, his father had become even more secretive, leaving the house at strange hours and always making up vague excuses when questioned. Gary had attributed this to old age and health problems, but now, "What if she's telling the truth?" Karen murmured, verbalizing the fear that they both felt but didn't want to admit. Afternoon fell over Harmony Creek with the same uncertainty that hung over the Sterling family. Meanwhile, behind the Church of the Assumption, Lily played with her rag doll, humming softly a melody that Richard used to sing to her. Patty, sitting beside her, organized the cans collected during the day, but from time to time stopped to observe the girl with a confused expression, as if trying to remember something important that she had forgotten. "Grandma Patty," Lily said softly, "that lady this morning seemed nice, different from the other people." "What lady, my flower?" "The one who asked questions about Grandpa Richard." "Erica." Patty stopped organizing the cans and stared at Lily, a shadow of lucidity passing through her eyes. "My granddaughter, there are things that Grandma can't remember right. But I know you're special, very special, and I know that someone one day will come looking for you." Patty's words echoed in the cold afternoon air like a prophecy, while somewhere in the city, Pieces of a complex puzzle slowly began to fit together. The next morning, Erica decided to look for someone who really knew the secrets of the Sterling family. After some discreet investigations, she discovered the address of Norma Silver, a former housekeeper who had worked at the Sterling house for more than 20 years. Norma lived in a simple house in the Willow Creek neighborhood, a lower middle-class area where small houses lined paved but narrow streets. Erica knocked on the blue-painted wooden door, hearing the sound of a sewing machine coming from inside. The woman who answered the door was 59 years old, with grey hair tied in a low bun and calloused hands that revealed decades of hard work. Norma Silver wore a simple apron over a dark dress, and her brown eyes carried a mixture of weariness and distrust. "Can I help you?" Norma asked, keeping the door only ajar. "My name is Erica Powell. I'm a journalist," Erica said, showing her identification. "I'd like to talk about the Sterling family, specifically about Mr. Richard." Norma's face closed immediately. "I have nothing to say about that family. I worked there. I was dismissed. End of story." "Please," Erica insisted. "It's about a child, a 6-year-old girl who seemed to know Mr. Richard well." Norma hesitated, her hand tightening on the doorknob. "What child?" "Lily. She appeared at the funeral and was brutally expelled by the family, but she knew intimate details about Mr. Richard." For a long moment, Norma remained silent, processing the information. Finally, she opened the door a little wider. "Come in," she said reluctantly, "but I can't say much." The interior of Norma's house was modest, but impeccably clean. In the small living room, a sewing machine occupied the center, surrounded by piles of fabrics and clothes in various stages of completion. It was clear that she survived by doing sewing for the neighborhood. "Coffee?" Norma offered, more out of politeness than genuine hospitality. "Yes, please, thank you," Erica replied, sitting in the simple armchair that Norma indicated. While Norma prepared the coffee in the kitchen, Erica observed the surroundings. There were few decorations, but she noticed a small photo on a shelf, Norma younger, next to a man and 2 small children. "My family," Norma said, returning with 2 cups. "My husband passed away 10 years ago, and my children live in Chicago. That's why I need to work until today." "How long did you work for the Sterlings?" Erica asked, accepting the cup. 22 years, Norma replied, sitting in the chair opposite. "I started when Mr. Gary was still a child. I saw that family grow, marry, have children. I saw a lot of things." "And why did you leave?" Norma took a sip of coffee, clearly buying time to decide how much she would reveal. "I was fired. No explanation. One day Mr. Gary simply said that my services were no longer needed." "When was that?" 3 years ago. Right after..." Norma stopped abruptly, as if she had almost revealed something she shouldn't. "Right after what?" Erica pressed gently. Norma stood up and walked to the window, looking at the street through the lace curtains. "Miss Erica, working for a rich family for so long teaches you some things. The main one is knowing when to keep quiet. But if a child is involved..." "The girl who appeared at the funeral," Norma interrupted, turning to Erica. "What does she look like?" Erica described Lily in detail. Her physical appearance, the way she spoke, the rag doll, the way she referred to Richard. With each detail, she saw Norma's expression changing, moving from distrust to recognition, and then to something that looked like pain. "My God," Norma murmured, sitting down again. "It's her. It's really her." "Do you know Lily?" Norma covered her face with her hands, fighting conflicting emotions. When she finally spoke, her voice was choked. "I know her, or rather, I knew her, but I haven't seen her in 2 years." "What do you mean?" "In the last years I worked for the Sterlings. Every week a woman would show up at the gate, an older lady, kind of confused, always bringing a small child. Mr. Richard would go out to meet them, and the 3 would disappear for a few hours." Erica felt her heart race. "And did the family know about this?" "Nobody knew. Mr. Richard asked me not to comment, said it was a personal matter of his. When he came back with the girl, she would play in the backyard, out of sight of anyone. Sometimes he would take her inside the house, but only when he was sure that Mr. Gary and the family weren't there." "What was their relationship like?" Norma smiled for the first time since Erica arrived, but it was a sad smile. "I've never seen Mr. Richard so happy. He would transform in the presence of that child. He would buy her toys, candy, beautiful clothes. He even remodeled a room in the house just for her." "A room? Where?" "On the second floor, at the end of the hall. It was a room that was never used. He had it painted pink, put in children's furniture, filled it with dolls and books, but he always kept it locked when the girl wasn't there." Erica took notes frantically. "And what happened? Why did the visit stop?" Norma's face clouded over. "One day, 2 years ago, Mr. Richard came home completely distraught. He locked himself in his office for hours, making desperate phone calls. I heard him talking about hospitals, police stations, private investigators. He spent fortunes looking for someone." "Looking for who?" "He never said exactly, but from the conversations I overheard, it was the girl's mother. Apparently she had disappeared, and the child with her. And after that, Mr. Sterling changed completely. He became depressed, stopped eating properly, started making strange visits to churches, nursing homes, hospitals. He said he was looking for his lost little princess. The family thought he was losing his mind because of his age." Erica stopped writing and looked directly into Norma's eyes. "Mrs. Silver, do you have any idea who this child's mother was?" Norma hesitated for a long moment, clearly struggling between decades of loyalty and the need to reveal the truth. "I suspected," she said finally, "because of some things I heard, some interrupted conversations, and mainly because Mr. Sterling, in moments of despair, sometimes murmured a name." "What name?" "Clarice." The name echoed in the air like a confession. Erica remembered the research she had done on the family. Clarice Sterling, the youngest daughter who had disappeared from family records. Clarice was Mr. Sterling's daughter? She was, the youngest, a beautiful, intelligent, but rebellious girl. At 19, she got involved with a guy the family didn't approve of. There were terrible fights, horrible words were said. Mr. Gary and Mrs. Karen treated her very badly, said she was dishonoring the family. And what happened? One night, 7 years ago, there was a violent argument. Mr. Gary kicked Clarice out of the house, said she was dead to the family. Mr. Sterling tried to intervene, but it was too late. Clarice left that same night and never came back. Erica felt the pieces of the puzzle slowly fitting together. "And you think Lily is Clarice's daughter?" "I'm sure," Norma said with conviction. "The physical resemblance is striking, and the way Mr. Sterling took care of her. It was as if he was trying to make up for the lost years with his daughter." "Why were you fired?" "Because I found out too much. One day I overheard a phone conversation of Mr. Sterling where he mentioned leaving money for his granddaughter in his will. The next day Mr. Gary dismissed me. The silence that followed was loaded with implications. Erica understood that she had stumbled upon something much bigger than she had imagined. Lily wasn't just a street child with fantasies about a rich man. She was potentially the legitimate heir to a considerable fortune. "Mrs. Silver, is there any way to prove this connection?" "I don't know, but I know that Mr. Sterling kept important documents in the safe in his study. And I also know that he made changes to his will in the last months of his life." When Erica left Norma's house, her mind was buzzing with the revelations. The situation was much more complex than she had imagined. Lily wasn't just a victim of family cruelty. She was a direct threat to the financial interests of Gary and Karen, and that put her in far greater danger than anyone could imagine. 2 days after the conversation with Norma, Erica couldn't concentrate on anything else. The revelations about Lily and her possible connection to the Sterling family kept her awake during the early morning hours, planning how to proceed. She knew she was dealing with explosive information that could completely change the girl's life, for better or for worse. It was a cloudy afternoon when she decided to return to the back of the Church of the Assumption to find Lily again. She needed more details, more evidence that could confirm the suspicions that Norma had planted in her mind. When she arrived at the scene, she found a scene that left her deeply worried. Patty was sitting on the ground, trembling violently, with her eyes fixed on a point in the void. Lily was kneeling beside her, trying to calm her with gentle words and caresses. "Grandma Patty, it's okay," Lily said, with a patience that broke the heart of anyone who heard. "I'm here. I won't let anything bad happen." Erica approached slowly, not wanting to scare Patty even more. "What happened?" she asked softly. Lily looked up, and Erica could see tears running down the child's dirty cheeks. "Grandma Patty is confused again. Sometimes she gets like this. She can't remember where she is." Patty murmured disjointed words, alternating between moments of lucidity and complete confusion. "Where's my granddaughter? My granddaughter is gone. I have to find my granddaughter." "I'm here, Grandma," Lily repeated patiently, holding the older woman's trembling hands. "I'm not gone. I'm right here." Erica watched the scene with a heavy heart. A 6-year-old child taking care of an adult with mental problems was a responsibility too cruel for anyone so small. "Lily, are you okay? When was the last time you ate something?" The girl lowered her eyes, embarrassed. "Yesterday morning. The owner of the restaurant on the corner gave us a plate of rice and beans to share." Erica felt a wave of indignation. Meanwhile, a few miles away, a rich family was fighting over inheritances and worrying about credit card bills. "Come," she said, extending her hand to Lily. "Let's have lunch. The three of us. I know a quiet place where we can talk." Lily hesitated, looking at Patty, who was still in a state of confusion. "I can't leave Grandma alone. She needs me." "She's coming with us," Erica guaranteed. "We'll take care of her together." With great care, they managed to help Patty to get up and walk to a small diner in the center of town. Erica chose a table in the back, away from the curious eyes of the other customers. During the meal, Patty gradually recovered some of her lucidity, eating slowly and looking around, as if trying to locate herself in time and space. "Where are we?" she asked, her voice clearer. "At a restaurant, Grandma," Lily replied gently. "Aunt Erica brought us for lunch." Patty looked at Erica with a glimmer of recognition. "You're the lady who asked questions about Grandpa Richard." "I am," Erica confirmed. "And I'd like to ask a few more questions if you don't mind." "You can ask," Lily said, but her voice carried a worrying maturity. "But Grandma sometimes can't remember things right." Erica took a deep breath and decided to be direct. "Lily, do you have anything that belonged to Grandpa Richard? Any gift he gave you?" The girl hesitated, looking quickly at Patty before answering. "I do, but it's a secret." "What kind of secret?" Lily looked around the diner, checking if anyone was paying attention to the conversation. Then, discreetly, she lifted the sleeve of her torn blouse, revealing a small gold bracelet on her thin wrist. Erica felt her heart race. The bracelet was delicate, clearly expensive, and completely out of place on the arm of a child who lived on the streets. "Can I see it?" she asked softly. Lily took off the bracelet carefully and handed it to Erica. The gold was genuine, and there was a small inscription on the inside that Erica couldn't read completely due to the size of the letters. "Grandpa Richard gave it to me for my birthday," Lily explained. "He said it was so I would always remember that he loved me, even when he couldn't be with me." "What birthday was that?" "A long time ago. I still lived in the big house before I came here." Patty, who had been quiet during the conversation, suddenly perked up. "My granddaughter has always been special. She always had beautiful things. But then everything changed, didn't it, my flower?" "Patty," Erica said carefully, "can you tell me how you met Lily?" The older woman frowned, clearly making an effort to organize her confused memories. "I was in the hospital. A lot of noise, a lot of rushing around. And there she was, alone in a bed, crying for her mommy." "What hospital?" "In Philadelphia. I had gone to get tests, those head tests that the doctors ordered, and I saw that abandoned little child, so small, so scared. And you decided to take care of her?" "How could I not take care of her? She was just like my granddaughter who—" Patty stopped abruptly, an expression of confusion taking over her face. "Or is she my granddaughter? Sometimes I can't remember right." Lily held Patty's hand affectionately. "It doesn't matter, Grandma. What matters is that we're together." Erica realized that she was facing an even more complex situation than she had imagined. Patty had found Lily in a hospital and in her mental confusion had created a reality where the girl was her granddaughter. But what about the real story? How had Lily ended up in that hospital? Lily, do you remember anything from before the hospital? How did you get there? The girl concentrated intensely, her small eyes closing as if trying to reach distant memories. I remember being very sick, and I remember Mommy crying a lot, saying that she couldn't take care of me. Did your mother take you to the hospital? I think so. But then she disappeared. I waited a long time, but she never came back. Erica's heart broke, imagining a small child being abandoned in a hospital, waiting for a mother who would never return. And you don't remember your mother's name? Lily shook her head sadly. Sometimes I have dreams about her. She's a beautiful lady with long hair, and she's always crying. At that moment, Patty had another moment of lucidity. Her mother was very young, very sad. She had problems with bad medicine. Erica understood the reference. Clarice had faced problems with drug addiction, as Norma had mentioned. Patty, did you ever meet Lily's mother? I saw her a few times in the hospital, too thin, eyes red from crying so much. She said she couldn't take care of her daughter, that it was better to leave her there for someone who could give her a better life. And you decided to be that person? Patty smiled, a sweet and maternal smile. How could I leave such a small child alone in the world? My own granddaughter had passed away, and suddenly this other one appeared who needed love. Erica then understood the dimension of the tragedy. Patty had lost her own granddaughter and, in her pain and mental confusion, had adopted Lily as a substitute. It was a genuine love, but based on a distorted reality. When they finished eating, Erica accompanied the two back to the back of the church. During the walk, she couldn't stop thinking about the gold bracelet that Lily was wearing. She was sure that that little jewel held the key to proving the girl's true identity. Lily, she said before saying goodbye, can I take your bracelet to a friend of mine to take a look? He knows about jewelry and can read the inscription. The girl hesitated, clearly reluctant to part with her most precious treasure. Do you promise you'll give it back? I promise, and I also promise that I'll keep trying to find out the truth about your family. My family is here, Lily said, hugging Patty. Grandma takes care of me, and I take care of her. Erica smiled sadly. Lily's loyalty to Patty was touching, but also represented another obstacle. How to explain to a child that the person she considered family was not her real grandmother? And above all, how to ensure that, by revealing the truth, she wouldn't lose the only genuine love she had known in the last 2 years. That night, in her apartment, Erica held the bracelet against the light of the lamp, trying to decipher the inscription. The letters were tiny, delicately engraved on the gold, but she managed to distinguish some words. To my little, and something that looked like, love, Daddy. If her suspicions were correct, that bracelet had been given by Richard to Lily, confirming that he considered her his granddaughter. But it also meant that the girl was living in miserable conditions while having a right to an inheritance that could completely change her life. Erica's moral dilemma intensified with each discovery. Revealing the truth could save Lily from poverty, but it could also destroy the only family she knew and put her in the hands of people who had already proven themselves capable of extreme cruelty. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Gary continued his desperate search for his father's financial documents, unaware that the key to his problems was in the hands of a child he had violently expelled from a cemetery. The next morning, Erica headed to the oldest jewelry store in Harmony Creek, a small shop in the historic center of the town run by Mr. Abernathy, a 67-year-old man known for his skill in working with delicate and antique pieces. The shop smelled of polished metal and cleaning chemicals, with display cases full of rings, watches, and chains that sparkled under the artificial light. "Good morning, Mr. Abernathy," Erica greeted, approaching the counter where the jeweler examined an antique watch with a magnifying glass. "Good morning, miss. How can I help you?" he replied, looking up and adjusting the glasses he wore under the magnifying glass. Erica removed Lily's bracelet from the envelope where she had carefully stored it. I need you to help me read a very small inscription. It's very important. Mr. Abernathy took the bracelet with experienced fingers, immediately recognizing the quality of the piece. 18-karat gold, handcrafted, expensive piece, very expensive. Where did this come from? It's a long story, Erica said. Can you read the inscription? The jeweler placed the bracelet under a special lamp and adjusted his professional magnifying glass. For a few minutes, he carefully examined the inside of the jewel, moving it at different angles to better capture the light. I got it, he said finally. It reads, "To my little ballerina, with love, Daddy Rich." Erica's heart raced. Daddy Rich, exactly as Richard was known by the closest people, and little ballerina, an affectionate nickname that a grandfather would give to a beloved granddaughter. Are you absolutely sure of this reading? She asked, trying to control the emotion in her voice. I am. And I can say more. This inscription was made a few years ago, no more than 5. The gold in that area is less oxidized than in the rest of the piece. Erica thanked the jeweler and left the store with the definitive proof she was looking for. Lily was really Richard Sterling's granddaughter, and he had given her that bracelet as a demonstration of love. But now she faced the most difficult dilemma of her life: what to do with this information. As she walked through the cobblestone streets of Harmony Creek, her cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. Hello? Miss Erica? This is Norma Silver. We need to talk urgently. Norma's voice sounded tense, almost desperate. What happened? Erica asked, stopping on the sidewalk. I can't talk on the phone. Can you come to my house now? It's about the girl, and about things I found out. 20 minutes later, Erica was back at Norma's house, who greeted her with a face marked by worry and sleeplessness. Last night I had a visitor, Norma said as soon as she closed the door. Mr. Gary was here. Erica felt a chill run down her spine. What did he want? He was asking about you. He wanted to know what we talked about, what questions you asked. He was very nervous, even aggressive. And what did you say? That we talked about my memories of Mr. Richard, nothing more. But he didn't believe me. He said if I was lying, there would be consequences. Norma went to the kitchen and returned with an old shoebox. After he left, I remembered some things I had kept from my time working at the Sterling house. She opened the box, revealing some old photographs, receipts, and various papers. I always kept some souvenirs. Look at this. Norma showed a slightly faded photograph. Richard Sterling, smiling broadly, sitting on a park bench with a small child on his lap. The girl wore a pink dress and held an ice cream cone, laughing at the camera. Even with a few years' difference, it was unequivocally Lily. I took this photo hidden one day when they came back from their walk, Norma explained. I had never seen Mr. Sterling so happy. Can I keep it? You can. And there's more. Norma showed some receipts. Children's clothes, toys, children's furniture. All bought by Mr. Richard in recent years. He spent thousands of dollars on that girl. Erica studied the documents, feeling the weight of responsibility grow on her shoulders. She now had photographic evidence, first-hand testimony, and financial proof of the connection between Richard and Lily. Norma, there's one more thing I need to tell you, she said, showing the bracelet. I managed to read the inscription. When Norma heard about Daddy Rich, her eyes filled with tears. I knew it. Deep down, I always knew she was his granddaughter. But now, what do we do? If Gary finds out, that's why I asked you to come, Norma interrupted. Yesterday, after his visit, I kept thinking, Mr. Sterling was always a cautious man. If he really considered Lily his granddaughter, he must have left something for her. You mean inheritance? Exactly, and I know where it might be. Norma approached Erica, lowering her voice, as if someone might be listening. Mr. Sterling had a safe in the study, but he also had another hiding place that only I knew about, a place where he kept very personal documents. Where? In the room he remodeled for Lily. There's a loose board in the floor under the bed. He thought nobody knew, but I once caught him putting papers there. Erica felt a mixture of hope and terror. If there were official documents recognizing Lily as an heir, that would change everything, but it would also mean a legal battle against a powerful and unscrupulous family. How could we get access to that room? That's the problem, Norma sighed. The house is now Gary's territory, and after his visit yesterday, I'm sure he suspects something. At that moment, both were interrupted by the sound of a car stopping in front of the house. Norma ran to the window and paled. "It's him," she whispered. "Mr. Gary is here again." Erica quickly put the photographs and documents in her bag. "Where can I get out without being seen?" "Through the back," Norma said, pointing to the kitchen. "There's a door that leads to the backyard. You can go out through the neighbor's house." The knocks on the front door began, insistent and aggressive. "Norma, open that door! I know someone's there!" "Go!" Norma whispered to Erica. "And be careful. They've found out we're investigating." Erica left through the back of the house, her heart pounding. She managed to get out through the neighbor's yard and go around the block, arriving on her street just in time to see Gary arguing violently with Norma at the door of her house. Even from a distance, she could see that he was furious, gesturing threateningly. Norma tried to remain calm, but it was visible that she was terrified. Erica hid behind a parked car and called the police, reporting that an elderly woman was being threatened. She couldn't name names or give details, but she managed to get a patrol car sent to the scene. 15 minutes later, she saw Gary leave Norma's house and drive off at high speed, the car tires screeching on the asphalt. When the police arrived, they found only Norma, who said that it had been a misunderstanding and that everything was fine. Later, Erica called Norma from a payphone. "Are you okay?" "I am, but he made it clear that if I keep talking to you or any journalist, I'm going to have serious problems," Norma replied, her voice trembling. "Erica, you need to be very careful. I found out today that Mr. Gary is capable of anything to protect the family's interests." "What did he say exactly?" "That if that street urchin tried to claim anything from the family, he would make sure she disappeared forever, and that people who helped her could also have accidents." Erica's blood ran cold. These weren't just empty threats. There was something in the way Norma described the conversation that suggested that Gary was serious. "Norma, you're in danger. You need to leave town." "I can't. This is my house, my life. But you need to protect that girl. If Mr. Gary finds out where she is..." The call was abruptly interrupted. Erica tried to call back several times, but no one answered. A terrible sense of urgency seized her. She had in her hands the proof that Lily was the legitimate heir to a fortune, but she also knew that powerful and dangerous people would do anything to prevent that truth from coming out. That afternoon, when she went to find Lily behind the church, she discovered that both the girl and Patty had disappeared. The shack where they lived was empty, with signs that they had left in a hurry. On the wooden wall, someone had written with charcoal a message that made Erica's heart stop. "Stop looking or she disappears forever." Despair took over Erica when she found the empty shack. She searched every corner looking for clues about where Lily and Patty might have gone. Her hands trembled as she read and reread the threatening message on the wall. The reality of the situation hit her like a punch. She was no longer dealing only with a rich and arrogant family, but with people willing to harm an innocent child. During the next few hours, Erica scoured all of Harmony Creek, visiting places where people living on the streets usually took shelter. She asked in nursing homes, hospitals, churches, and even at the police station, but no one had seen Lily and Patty. It was as if they had simply evaporated. Meanwhile, at the Sterling mansion, a tense scene unfolded in the dining room. Gary had called an urgent family meeting, and his wife Karen was visibly nervous, playing with the rings on her fingers while avoiding looking directly at her husband. "We need to talk about a situation that could compromise our family," Gary said, his voice controlled but laden with tension. David and Antonia were sitting at the table, clearly uncomfortable with the heavy atmosphere that hung in the air. "What situation?" David asked, although something in his expression suggested that he already suspected what it was about. That street urchin from the cemetery, Gary replied dryly. I found out that some people are trying to create a false story, claiming that she had some connection with your grandfather. Antonia shifted restlessly in her chair. But Dad, what if it's not a false story? What if she really knew Grandpa? Don't be ridiculous, Gary exploded, slamming his hand on the table and making the dishes tremble. Your grandfather would never get involved with street bums. You don't have to shout at her, David said, his voice firm, despite being only 15 years old. Antonia just asked a question. Karen finally spoke, her voice hesitant. Gary, are you sure there wasn't anything that your father didn't tell us? He was very different in recent years. The look that Gary gave his wife was icy. I'm telling you that this is an attempted scam. Unscrupulous people trying to take advantage of our family's grief to get money. And where is the girl now? David asked, his question loaded with a tension that didn't go unnoticed by his father. That's none of our business, Gary replied quickly. The important thing is that you understand. If someone comes asking questions about her, about your grandfather, about anything, you don't know anything. You haven't heard anything. You haven't seen anything. Antonia began to cry softly. Dad, you're scaring me. Why are you talking like this? Karen stood up and hugged her daughter, casting a look of disapproval at her husband. Gary, the children don't need to be exposed to this. Yes, they do, he shouted, completely losing control. They need to understand that our family is being attacked, that malicious people want to destroy everything we've worked for. David got up from the table, the chair scraping against the floor. I'm not going to listen to this anymore, he said, heading for the door. Come back here, Gary ordered. I haven't finished talking. Well, I'm finished listening, David replied, leaving the room and going upstairs to his bedroom. Antonia continued crying in her mother's arms, while Karen looked at her husband with a mixture of fear and disappointment. The family was falling apart, and everyone felt that there were secrets being hidden that could destroy everything that was left of their union. In his room, David threw himself on the bed, his mind buzzing with contradictory thoughts. Something wasn't right about the way his father reacted to the simple mention of that girl. And the violence of his reaction suggested that there was much more at stake than he admitted. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Erica hadn't given up looking for Lily. It was almost midnight when she decided to check one last place, the town cemetery. Something led her to believe that if Lily was hidden or scared, she might have returned to the place where it all started, where she had tried to say goodbye to Richard. The cemetery at night was a dark and scary place, but Erica didn't hesitate to jump the low wall that surrounded the site. Using her cell phone flashlight, she began to search among the tombs, whispering Lily's name in the darkness. That's when she heard it, a very low sound, almost imperceptible. Someone was humming a sad melody coming from the direction of Richard's tomb. Erica approached slowly, and her heart filled with relief when she saw two small figures huddled behind the marble headstone. "Lily," she called softly. The girl raised her head, and even in the darkness, Erica could see that she had been crying. Patty was next to her, apparently sleeping, wrapped in an old blanket. "Aunt Erica," Lily whispered, running to hug her. "We were so scared. Some men came looking for us." "What men?" Erica asked, hugging the child and feeling how she was trembling from the cold. "I don't know who they were, but they asked about you and about the questions you asked. Grandma Patty got scared and said we had to leave home." Erica looked at Patty, who was sleeping deeply, exhausted by the tension of the day. The older woman seemed more fragile than ever, and it was evident that the situation was affecting her already precarious mental health. "Lily, you can't stay here. It's too cold, and it's not safe. But where can we go?" the girl asked, her voice laden with despair. "We have nowhere else." Erica made a decision that would completely change the course of the situation. "You're going to stay with me, at my apartment, until we figure out how to solve this." "But what if the bad men find us?" "They won't find you," Erica promised, although she wasn't sure how she could guarantee that. "We're going to stay hidden until I find a way for you to be safe forever." With great care, they managed to wake Patty and help her walk to Erica's car. The older woman was confused and disoriented, muttering about people who weren't there. and places that didn't exist. At the apartment, Erica improvised beds on the living room floor, using all the blankets and pillows she possessed. She prepared a hot tea and something to eat, watching how Lily took care of Patty with a patience and affection that broke her heart. "Lily," she said when the girl finally settled into the makeshift bed, "I need to ask you a very important question." "You can ask. If I found a way for you to live in a beautiful house with food always on the table, clean clothes, and you could go to school, but it meant staying away from Grandma Patty for a while, what would you do?" The question took Lily by surprise. She looked at Patty, who was finally sleeping peacefully, and then turned her eyes back to Erica. "Is Grandma Patty coming with me?" "Maybe not. She needs special care, doctors." "Then I'll stay with her," Lily said without hesitation. "She took care of me when no one else did. Now it's my turn to take care of her." Lily's answer deeply moved Erica. Even as just a child, she demonstrated extraordinary loyalty and emotional maturity. But it also confirmed Erica's fears about how difficult it would be to resolve the girl's situation. That night, while Lily and Patty slept, Erica stayed awake, planning her next steps. She had enough evidence to prove Lily's identity, but she also knew that confronting the Sterling family would be a dangerous and possibly deadly battle. Around 3 in the morning, her cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" "You shouldn't have gotten involved in this," said a distorted male voice. "Now it's too late to turn back." "Who are you?" "Someone who's trying to give you one last chance. Stop looking for the girl. Stop asking questions. And above all, forget everything you think you've discovered. And if I don't stop, then you'll find out that accidents happen very often in small towns, especially with journalists who are too curious." The call was terminated, leaving Erica with her heart pounding. She looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully on the living room floor, and made a decision that would change everything. Not only would she continue investigating, she would accelerate the process. If there were people willing to threaten an innocent child, then it was even more important to ensure that the truth came to light. But first, she needed to find a way to protect Lily and Patty, and that meant she would have to take drastic measures that could put her own life at risk. The next morning, Erica woke up to the sound of Lily consoling Patty, who had woken up confused and scared because she didn't recognize the environment. The older woman was agitated, insisting that she needed to go back home to take care of her real granddaughter. "Grandma, I'm here," Lily said patiently, holding Patty's trembling hands. "It's me, your granddaughter." "No, no," Patty insisted, looking around the apartment with terror. "My granddaughter has long hair and wears a blue dress." "You're not her. Where's my granddaughter?" Erica realized that Patty's situation was deteriorating rapidly. The stress of the last few days had aggravated her mental confusion, and she was losing touch with the reality she had built around Lily. "Patty," Erica said softly, "you're safe here. This is Lily, the girl you've been taking care of." "Lily?" Patty repeated, as if hearing the name for the first time. "Who's Lily?" "I only know my granddaughter, Clara." The name hit Erica like lightning. "Clara? Did you say Clara?" "My granddaughter Clara. She was 7 years old when... Patty stopped abruptly, an expression of deep pain crossing her face. "When they took her away." Lily looked at Erica with confused and hurt eyes. It was the first time that Patty hadn't recognized her as her granddaughter, and the emotional impact was devastating for the child. "Grandma isn't feeling well," Erica explained to Lily. "Sometimes, when people get very sad or scared, they get confused." "Doesn't she want me anymore?" Lily asked, tears running down her cheeks. "Of course she does. She loves you very much. She's just confused now." But internally, Erica understood that she had stumbled upon another piece of the puzzle. Patty had lost a real granddaughter named Clara, and in her pain and mental confusion had projected that love onto Lily. The situation was even more complex and painful than she had imagined. At that moment, someone knocked on the apartment door. Erica froze, remembering the threats from the night before. She signaled for Lily to be quiet and approached the door. "Who is it?" "David Sterling. I need to talk to you. Erica was shocked. Gary's eldest son was there, alone. She opened the door cautiously, keeping the security chain on. What do you want? David seemed nervous and tired, as if he hadn't slept. Please, can I come in? It's about that girl from the cemetery. I know you're trying to help her. After hesitating for a moment, Erica opened the door. David entered and immediately saw Lily sitting on the floor next to Patty. It's her, he murmured, approaching slowly. The girl my father treated so badly. Lily hid behind Erica, clearly recognizing David as part of the family that had humiliated her. Don't be afraid, David said softly, crouching down to be at the girl's height. I didn't come here to hurt you. I came because I want to help. Why should I trust you? Erica asked, remaining protective of Lily. Because I know my father is lying, David replied, his voice laden with emotion. And because I can't stop thinking about the cruel way we treated this child. David said that the night before, after the argument at the dinner table, he had decided to investigate on his own. He went up to the attic of the house and found boxes of his grandfather's belongings that his father had stored there. I found this, he said, taking some photographs from his pocket. They were more pictures of Richard with Lily at different ages and times. And I also found this. He showed an official paper, a birth certificate. Erica examined it quickly and her heart raced. It was Lily's birth certificate, and in the mother field it was written clearly, Clarice Sterling. Where did you find this? In the room that my grandfather had remodeled. There's a hiding place on the floor under the bed. It was full of documents about Lily and about my Aunt Clarice. Lily approached slowly, intrigued by the conversation. Is that my name on the paper? It is, Erica confirmed, showing her the certificate. And here it says who your mother is. Clarice, Lily read slowly, pronouncing each syllable. That name, sometimes I dream of someone calling me Little Darling, with a very sweet voice. David watched the scene with growing emotion. She's my cousin. She's my aunt's daughter. And my father kicked his own niece out of a funeral. Are there more documents? Erica asked. Many, including something that looks like a will. David hesitated before continuing. My grandfather left half of the entire family fortune to Lily. The silence that followed was deafening. Half of the Sterling fortune. That explained Gary's desperation to keep Lily away from the family. That's why your father is so desperate, Erica murmured. It's not just that, David said, his voice becoming more tense. I also found letters that my grandfather wrote to Clarice, trying to convince her to come home. He was looking for her and for Lily for years. And where is Clarice now? I don't know. But from the letters, it seems that she was admitted to some rehab clinic in Philadelphia. My grandfather sent money for her treatment. At that moment, Patty, who had been quiet throughout the conversation, suddenly became alert. Clara, she said, looking directly at Lily. You look just like my Clara when she was little. Patty, Erica said carefully. Did you know Clarice? Clarice, Patty murmured, making a visible effort to organize her memories. The sick girl at the hospital, the one who cried for her little girl. Did you meet Lily's mother at the hospital? I did. She was very sick, very sad. She said she had done terrible things, that she didn't deserve her daughter. When she disappeared from the hospital, she left the girl alone. David and Erica exchanged glances, understanding that they had before them the only witness of how Lily had ended up on the streets. Patty, can you tell us everything you remember about Clarice? She was very young, very thin. She had marks on her arms because of the bad medicine she used to take. But when she talked about her daughter, her eyes shone with love. And what happened to her? One day she wasn't there anymore. The nurses said she had run away during the night. She left a letter for her daughter, but nobody knew how to read to the girl. What letter? David asked anxiously. I don't know. The social worker kept it. Erica felt that they were getting close to important answers, but she also knew the time was running out. If Gary found out that David had stolen the documents from the hiding place, everyone would be in even greater danger. David, does your father know that you took these papers? Not yet. But he'll find out soon. That's why I came here. We have to act fast. Act how? I don't know. Maybe we can look for that social worker, or try to find my Aunt Clarice. Lily, who had listened to the whole conversation in silence, finally spoke. I want to meet my mother, even if she's sick. The girl's statement deeply touched everyone present. Here was a child who had suffered abandonment, neglect, and cruelty, but still maintained hope of reuniting with the mother who had left her. We're going to find her, David promised, for the first time in years, feeling that he had a real purpose in life. We're going to find my aunt and reunite you two. But even as they made these plans, none of them realized that they were being watched. Across the street, a man in sunglasses carefully noted everything he saw, including David's arrival at Erica's apartment. Gary would soon know exactly where to find his lost niece. And this time, he wouldn't settle for just threats. 2 hours after David left the apartment, Erica realized that they needed to leave there immediately. Something in her journalistic instinct warned her that they were being watched. Quickly, she packed some clothes for Lily and Patty, along with all the documents that David had brought. "Where are we going?" Lily asked, hugging her rag doll. "To a safe place," Erica replied, helping Patty to get up. "We're going on a trip." They left the apartment through the back of the building using the fire escape. Erica had parked her car on a parallel street, a precaution that now proved essential. As she helped Patty into the vehicle, she noticed a man in sunglasses across the street, talking on the phone and looking in their direction. "Quick," she murmured, accelerating the car. The destination was Philadelphia. If Clarice had been admitted to a rehab clinic in the capital, perhaps there were still records of her whereabouts. And above all, they were fleeing from Gary Sterling's direct zone of influence. During the 2-hour trip, Patty slept in the back seat, exhausted by the events of the last few days. Lily remained awake, watching the landscape through the window and asking questions about the mother she barely remembered. "What do you think she's like now?" Lily asked. "I don't know, honey. But I know that if she's your mother, she must have a lot of love saved for you. What if she doesn't want to see me? What if she left me because she didn't love me?" Erica looked in the rearview mirror, seeing the girl's anxious face. "Sometimes people do bad things when they're very sick or very sad. That doesn't mean they don't love you. It means they need help to be able to love properly." In Philadelphia, Erica first looked for a simple hotel where they could stay. She chose a discreet location in the center of the city, where they could go unnoticed while conducting their investigations. Installed in the room, she began to make calls to rehab clinics, using the excuse of being a journalist doing an article on the recovery of drug addicts. Most of the institutions refused to give information about patients, but she finally found a more cooperative receptionist. "Clarice Sterling?" the woman repeated on the other end of the line. "That name sounds familiar. Let me check our old records." Erica waited anxiously, holding her breath. Yes, she was here about 2 years ago, but she abandoned the treatment before completing the program. "Do you have any information about where she went?" "Not officially, but I remember she mentioned having a sister who lived in Wilmington. She may have gone there." It was the first real clue about Clarice's current whereabouts. Erica thanked her and hung up, feeling a mixture of hope and apprehension. Meanwhile, back in Harmony Creek, Gary discovered that David had stolen the documents from the hiding place. The explosion of fury was so intense that the house employees hid, afraid of being hit by objects he threw around the house. "Where's my son?" he shouted at Karen, who was huddled in a corner of the room. "I don't know. He left this morning and didn't say where he was going. He stole important documents that can destroy our family." Karen finally found the courage to confront her husband. "Gary, what's going on? What are those documents? Why are you so desperate?" For a moment, Gary hesitated. Then, taken by a mixture of anger and despair, he decided to tell the truth to his wife. "That street urchin from the cemetery is Clarice's daughter. She's Richard's legitimate granddaughter. And he left half of the inheritance to her." Karen's face paled completely. Half of everything. Of everything. The construction company, the properties, the financial investments, everything. But she's a street child. How can she have a right to anything? Because she's my sister's daughter. And Dad, in his mania to protect everyone, made a will that leaves us practically with nothing. Karen sat down heavily in an armchair, processing the magnitude of the situation. Her entire life of luxury, her social ambitions, the future of her children, everything was threatened by a 6-year-old girl who had appeared in a cemetery. "What are we going to do?" she asked, her voice almost inaudible. "We're going to solve this," Gary said, his voice laden with a dark determination. "One way or another." At that moment, Antonia came down the stairs, having heard part of her parents' discussion. At 12 years old, she didn't fully understand the financial implications, but she understood that her parents were talking about harming the girl from the cemetery. "Dad," she said, her voice trembling, "you're not going to hurt her, are you?" Gary looked at his daughter and for an instant saw a glimmer of humanity in his own eyes, but it quickly hardened again. "Go to your room, Antonia. This isn't a matter for children. But she's a child too, and if she's our cousin—" "She's nothing of ours," Gary exploded, "and if you know what's good for you, you'll forget everything you heard here." Antonia ran to her room, crying. For the first time in her life, she was really afraid of her own father. Back in Philadelphia, Erica had obtained the address of Clarice's supposed sister in Wilmington. It was a lower-middle-class neighborhood, with small houses and narrow streets. They left Patty resting at the hotel and set off for the investigation. The house they were looking for was simple, painted light green, with a small garden in front. A woman of approximately 40 years old answered the door, clearly suspicious of the presence of strangers. "I'm looking for Clarice Sterling," Erica said. "They said she might be here." The woman's expression changed immediately, going from distrust to pain. "Clarice is my sister, but she's not here anymore." "Where did she go?" The woman, who introduced herself as Marcia, hesitated before answering. "She stayed here for a few months after she left the clinic, but she was always very agitated, talking about a daughter she had lost. One night, she simply disappeared." "When was that?" "About a year ago. She left only a letter saying she was going to look for her daughter." Lily, who had been quiet until then, approached. "Aunt Marcia, I'm her daughter." "I'm Lily." Marcia looked at the girl, and her face transformed completely. "My God, you have her eyes, and the smile. It's just like Clarice's when she was a child. Do you know where my mother might be?" Marcia knelt down to Lily's height, tears running down her face. "I don't know, my dear, but I can tell you about her. I can show you pictures of when we were children." They spent the afternoon at Marcia's house, who told stories about Clarice, how cheerful and dreamy she was before the drug problem started, how she loved to dance and paint, how devastated she had been when she was kicked out of the family. "She always said that one day she would come back to get you," Marcia told Lily. "She said that when she was completely cured, she was going to give you the life you deserved." "And where might she have gone to look for me?" "She probably went back to Harmony Creek. It was the last place she knew you were." Erica's heart froze. If Clarice had returned to Harmony Creek looking for Lily, she was walking directly into danger. Gary wouldn't hesitate to use his own sister to get what he wanted. "Marcia, if Clarice gets in touch, can you tell her we're looking for her, and that Lily is safe and sound?" "Of course, but be careful. Clarice told me about the threats her brother made when she was kicked out of the house. He's capable of anything." When they returned to the hotel, they found Patty in a state of great agitation. She had had another episode of confusion and was convinced that strange men had been in the room looking for them. "They were here," she said, trembling. "They asked about you and the girl. They had to leave when I said you had traveled far away." Erica realized that even in Philadelphia, they weren't safe. Gary had the resources to find them anywhere. They needed a more definitive plan. That night, while Lily and Patty slept, she made the riskiest decision of her life. She was going back to Harmony Creek, but not to hide. She was going to directly confront Gary Sterling and use all the evidence she had collected to force him to recognize Lily's rights. It was a dangerous bet, but it was the only way to ensure that the girl could have the life that Richard had dreamed for her, and maybe, with luck, They could find Clarice before it was too late. The next morning, before leaving for Harmony Creek, Erica took a precaution that would prove crucial. She left Lily and Patty safe at Marcia's house in Wilmington and recorded a detailed video on her cell phone, narrating the entire story she had discovered, including the evidence about Lily's identity and Gary's threats. "If anything happens to me," she told Marcia, "give this cell phone to the authorities and take care of her as if she were your own daughter." Lily cried, clinging to Erica's leg. "I don't want you to go. I'm afraid the bad men will hurt you. I have to go, honey. It's the only way to ensure that you can have a normal life, a real family. But you're my family now," the girl sobbed. Erica knelt down and hugged Lily tightly. "And I always will be. But you deserve much more than I can give you. You deserve to meet your mother, study at a good school, have a bright future." During the trip back to Harmony Creek, Erica developed her strategy. She wouldn't try to hide or negotiate in secret. On the contrary, she would make everything public. She had scheduled meetings with other journalists, with the district attorney, and even with the local police chief. If Gary tried to do something against her, it would be in front of many witnesses. Arriving in Harmony Creek in the early afternoon, she went directly to the Sterling mansion. She found David waiting for her at the gate, clearly agitated. "Erica, thank God you're back. My father found out I took the documents. He's out of his mind." "Where is he now?" "Locked in the study, making calls. He hired private investigators to find you. And your mother and sister?" "My mother is in shock. She can't believe we're going to lose everything. And Antonia, she's afraid of Dad. Yesterday he shouted at her in a way he never had before." Erica took a deep breath. "David, I want you to take me to your father. Now." "Are you sure?" "He's dangerous." "I'm sure, and I have a plan." They walked to the main house, passing through the well-kept garden that contrasted drastically with the tension that hung over the family. David knocked on the study door. "Dad, there's someone here who wants to talk to you." "I don't want to talk to anyone," Gary shouted from the other side of the door. "It's about Lily," Erica said loudly. The silence that followed lasted several seconds. Then the door opened abruptly, revealing Gary with his face red with anger and his hair disheveled. "You," he said, pointing his finger at Erica, "where is that little tramp?" "In a safe place and under legal protection." Gary took a threatening step towards her. "You don't know who you're messing with. I can destroy your life with a phone call." "You can try," Erica replied calmly, "but before I think you should hear what I have to say." She entered the study uninvited, followed by David. The room was in disarray with papers scattered on the table and open drawers. "I know everything, Gary. I know that Lily is Clarice's daughter. I know about the inheritance that Richard left her. And I know about the threats you made." "I don't know what you're talking about." Erica put her bag on the table and began to take out documents. Lily's birth certificate, photographs of her with Richard, receipts for purchases he made for her, testimony from Norma Silver about the weekly visits. With each piece of evidence presented, Gary's face paled more. "And above all," Erica continued, "I have a copy of the will that your son found, the will where Richard leaves 50% of all assets to his granddaughter Lily Sterling." "That's not worth anything," Gary exploded. "She's the daughter of an addict, a bastard who shouldn't even have the family surname." David positioned himself between his father and Erica. "Dad, stop it. She's our family." "She's not our family. She's a parasite who's going to suck up everything we've built." At that moment, Karen entered the study, followed by Antonia. Both had heard the shouts. "Gary, what are you arguing about?" Karen asked. Erica turned directly to her. "Mrs. Sterling, your sister-in-law Clarice had a daughter. That daughter is Lily, the girl you kicked out of the cemetery, and she's the legitimate heir to half of the family fortune." Karen leaned against the wall, shock etched on her face. "Half?" "Half of everything. Richard recognized Lily as his legitimate granddaughter and left a substantial inheritance for her." "No!" Karen shouted. "This can't be true. We have children. We built this family." "And you'll continue to have your part," Erica said. "But Lily also has a right to hers." Antonia, who had been quiet throughout the discussion, finally spoke. "Is she really our cousin?" "She is," confirmed David, "and Grandpa loved her very much." "Then why are you angry with her?" the girl asked with the cruel innocence of children. "If Grandpa wanted her to have money, why are you trying to stop her?" Antonia's question echoed in the heavy silence of the study. It was a simple question, but it revealed the true nature of what was happening. Gary, realizing that he was losing control of the situation, tried one last gamble. "Even if all this is true," he said, "the girl is missing. Without her present, the will can't be executed." "Actually, it can," said a voice from the door. Everyone turned to see a man in a dark suit entering the study. It was Dr. Harrison Ford, attorney and executor of Richard Sterling's will. "Dr. Ford," Gary said, clearly surprised. "What are you doing here?" "I received a call from Miss Erica informing me about the discovery of the missing heir," the lawyer replied, adjusting his glasses. "I came to personally verify the evidence." Erica had made that strategic call during the trip back from Philadelphia. She knew she would need official legal backing to face Gary. Dr. Ford carefully examined all the documents that Erica had brought. "This evidence is more than sufficient to prove the identity of the minor Lily as the daughter of Clarice Sterling and the legitimate granddaughter of Richard Sterling." "But she's not here," Gary insisted. "She doesn't need to be. The will is clear. The assets intended for the minor will be administered by a legal guardian until she reaches adulthood. And considering the circumstances of her current life, it will be necessary to appoint a suitable legal guardian." Karen finally understood the magnitude of the situation. "We're going to lose everything," she murmured. "You won't lose everything," Dr. Ford corrected. "You'll receive exactly what Richard determined you should receive. The other half was always intended for his granddaughter." "And if we refuse to accept this?" Gary asked in a desperate attempt. "Then the case will go to court," the lawyer replied calmly. "And considering the evidence I saw today, in addition to the documented threats against the minor, I believe that justice would not be favorable to you." David approached his father. "Dad, accept this. It's the right thing to do." "The right thing?" Gary repeated bitterly. "The right thing was for my father to have thought about the children who took care of him, not some unknown bastard." "Unknown bastard nothing," Antonia exploded, surprising everyone. "She's our cousin, and Grandpa loved her. If you can't accept that, then you don't deserve to be called a father." The silence that followed was broken by the ringtone of Dr. Ford's cell phone. He answered and, after a brief conversation, hung up with a worried expression. "That was my office," he said. "A woman was there looking for information about Lily Sterling. She said she was the child's mother." Erica felt her heart race. "Clarice?" "Apparently, yes. She's in my office now, wanting to know about her daughter's legal situation." "My sister is alive?" Gary asked, his voice laden with an emotion he struggled to hide. "Not only alive, but actively looking for her daughter," confirmed Dr. Ford. "Perhaps it's time for the entire Sterling family to come together and resolve this situation once and for all." Erica realized that the crucial moment had arrived. After weeks of investigation, threats, and fear, all the pieces of the puzzle were finally fitting together. But there still remained the most important question. How would Clarice react upon discovering that her daughter had grown up on the streets, while her own family fought over money? Dr. Harrison Ford's office was located in downtown Harmony Creek, in a historic two-story building that housed several of the city's professionals. When they arrived there, Erica, David, Antonia, and reluctantly Gary and Karen, they found a woman sitting in the waiting room that made everyone freeze instantly. Clarice Sterling was 26 years old, but she seemed to have lived much longer. Too thin, with long but dull brown hair, she wore simple clothes and carried an old purse on her lap. Her hands trembled slightly, and there was a deep sadness in her dark eyes that resembled Lily's. When she saw Gary enter, Clarice cringed in her chair, as if expecting to be attacked at any moment. "Clarice," Gary said, his voice loaded with a complex emotion that mixed anger, guilt, and something that could have been relief. You're okay? I'm better, she replied timidly. I've been clean for 8 months, without using anything. Doctor. Ford led them to his private office, a formal environment with bookshelves full of law books and diplomas on the walls. Clarice sat on the edge of the chair, clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation. Clarice, the lawyer said gently, you came here looking for information about your daughter, Lily. Yes, she replied, her voice almost a whisper. I've been looking for her for months. I went to the hospital where I left her, but they said she had disappeared with an older woman 2 years ago. Erica leaned forward. Clarice, my name is Erica. I've been taking care of Lily in recent weeks. She's safe and sound. Clarice's eyes filled with tears. She's okay, really okay. She hasn't been hurt. She hasn't gone hungry. The question broke the hearts of everyone present, because the answer was that Lily had gone through all that and much more. She's an extraordinary girl, Erica said, choosing her words carefully. Strong, brave, and with a heart full of love to give. I need to see her, Clarice said, trying to get up. I need to explain why I left her. I need to beg for forgiveness. Calm down, Dr. Ford said. Before any reunion, we need to resolve some important legal issues. He explained about Richard's will, about the inheritance intended for Lily, and about the current situation of the family. With each revelation, Clarice became more shocked. Dad left money for her, she asked, looking at Gary. He didn't hate me for leaving? He never stopped looking for you two, said David, speaking for the first time since they arrived. He spent fortunes trying to find you. Gary remained silent, but his expression revealed the internal struggle he was waging. Seeing his sister again, visibly frail but clearly trying to recover, awakened memories of when they were children, before all the fights and resentments. Clarice, he said finally, why did you never try to contact us? Why did you simply disappear? Because you kicked me out, she replied, her voice gaining strength. Because you said I was dead to the family, because you made it clear that an addict like me would never be welcome. But you could have sought help. You could have come back when you found out you were pregnant. I did come back, Clarice exploded, surprising everyone. I came back when Lily was 2 years old. I was trying to recover, managing to hold down a job. I knocked on the door, begging to see Dad. She looked directly at Gary, her tears now of anger. And you told me that he didn't want to see me, that I should forget that I had a family. Gary paled. I was trying to protect the family. You were protecting your pride, Clarice shouted. And because of that, Dad never knew he had a living granddaughter. He did know, Erica interrupted. Richard knew Lily. He visited her regularly. Clarice stopped crying, confused. What do you mean? Your father found out about Lily on his own. During the last years of his life, he visited her every week. He brought gifts, spent hours playing with her. He loved her deeply. But how did he find her? We don't know exactly, admitted Dr. Ford. But from the documents he left, it seems that he hired investigators and finally managed to locate where you were. And why didn't he ever look for me? Maybe because he didn't know where you were, suggested Erica. Lily was with a woman named Patty, who found her abandoned at the hospital. Clarice covered her face with her hands, the weight of guilt and loss hitting her full force. I'm a terrible mother. I abandoned my daughter. I lost precious years with her, and now I find out that my father, Your father forgave you a long time ago, Dr. Ford said gently. The will he left behind isn't just about money. It's a love letter to the daughter and granddaughter he loved so much. At that moment, Antonia, who had been quiet throughout the conversation, approached Clarice. Aunt Clarice, she said timidly, can I give you a hug? Clarice looked at the niece she hadn't seen in 7 years, now a 12-year-old girl, and couldn't help but smile through the tears. Of course, my dear. The hug between aunt and niece broke some of the tension in the room. Karen, observing the scene, finally spoke. Clarice, I'm sorry for what happened, for the way you were treated. I'm sorry too, said David. I didn't directly participate in what happened 7 years ago, but I didn't do anything to stop it, and that makes me guilty too. Gary remained silent, fighting against the pride that had dominated his life for so long. Finally, with a choked voice, he said, Clarice, I made a terrible mistake. When you came back 5 years ago, I should have let you talk to Dad. I should have given you a chance to reconcile. Why didn't you? Because I was afraid, he admitted, the word coming out with difficulty. Afraid that Dad would forgive you and forget about me. Afraid of losing control over the family and the business. And mostly, afraid of admitting that I was wrong. The silence that followed was loaded with years of bitterness, but also with a fragile possibility of reconciliation. "Where's Lily now?" Clarice asked, returning to what really mattered. "In Wilmington, with a trusted person," Erica replied. "She's safe and eager to meet you. Does she know who I am? She knows that you're her mother, and she knows that you've been sick, but that you're trying to get better. And does she forgive me? After everything I've done?" "Clarice," Erica said softly, "Lily is a child who has gone through a lot of suffering, but who has kept a heart full of love. She dreams every day of finding you." Dr. Ford spoke again. "There are practical issues that we need to resolve. Clarice, are you in a position to take custody of Lily? Do you have a stable home, sufficient income?" The reality of the situation hit Clarice like a bucket of cold water. I don't have much. I work as a cleaner in Wilmington. I earn little. I live in a rented room." "That can be resolved," Dr. Ford said. "Lily's inheritance includes a fund for her education and care. In addition, your family has the resources to help." "She can live with us," said Antonia suddenly. "Our house is big, and I always wanted a sister." Everyone looked at the girl, surprised by her suggestion. "Antonia is right," said David. "Lily is our cousin. Her place is with family." Gary and Karen exchanged glances, both knowing that they would have to make a decision that would define not only Lily's future, but the kind of people they really were. "Clarice," Gary said finally, "do you want to come home? You and Lily?" The question echoed in the office as a second chance that none of them had imagined possible just a few hours before. Clarice looked at the brother who had kicked her out, at the sister-in-law who had judged her, at the nephews she barely knew, and at Erica, who had risked everything to protect her daughter. "I want to," she said simply. "I want to, very much." But there still remained the most important question of all. How would Lily react to the reunion with the mother she had lost, and to the prospect of living with a family that, until a few days ago, had treated her as an unwanted intruder? The trip back to Philadelphia was tense and silent. Clarice sat in the front seat next to Erica, her hands trembling with nervousness as she mentally rehearsed what she would say to the daughter she hadn't seen in 2 years. Behind, David and Antonia talked quietly, planning how to make the reunion less traumatic for everyone involved. Gary and Karen had stayed in Harmony Creek, claiming that they needed to organize legal matters with Dr. Ford, but in reality, still processing the magnitude of the changes that were happening in their lives. "What if she doesn't want to come with me?" Clarice asked for the 3rd time during the trip. "What if she's happy where she is and doesn't want to meet me?" "She wants to meet you," Erica guaranteed. "During all our conversations, she always asked about her mother. She always held out hope of one day reuniting with you. But she must be angry. She must hate me for abandoning her." "Lily doesn't know how to hate," said Antonia from the back seat. "When I saw her at the cemetery, even after my father had been cruel to her, she didn't show anger, only sadness." When they arrived at Marcia's house in Wilmington, they found Lily playing in the small backyard with Patty, who was having one of her more lucid days. The two were sitting under a tree, and Lily was drawing birds in the dirt with a dry branch. Marcia greeted them at the door, already knowing what was about to happen. "She's anxious," she whispered to Clarice. "She hasn't stopped asking about you since she found out you were coming." Clarice took a deep breath and walked slowly towards the backyard. When Lily saw her, the girl stopped drawing and became very quiet, carefully observing the woman who was approaching. "Lily," said Clarice, stopping a few feet away, I'm your mother." The girl studied Clarice's face for a long moment, comparing it with the fragmented memories she had of the first years of her life. "You have the same eyes as in my dreams," Lily said finally, her voice small but clear. "You dreamed about me?" "Every night. I dreamed that you would come back to get me." Clarice began to cry, but they were tears of relief and love. She knelt on the ground and opened her arms. "Can I give you a hug?" Lily hesitated for only a second before running into her mother's arms. The hug that followed was intense and desperate, as if both were trying to recover all the lost years in a single moment. "My little darling," Clarice murmured, kissing her daughter's hair. "Mommy is so sorry. So sorry for leaving you alone." "I wasn't alone," said Lily, still in her mother's arms. "Grandma Patty took care of me, and then Aunt Erica protected me." Patty, observing the scene, had a moment of complete lucidity. "Now, yes," she said, smiling. "Now the girl is with her real family." David and Antonia approached timidly. Lily recognized them from the cemetery, but this time there was no fear in her eyes. "Lily," said David, "we're your cousins, your mother's brother's children." "Real cousins?" she asked, still embraced with Clarice. "Real," confirmed Antonia, "and we're very happy to meet you." During the following hours, the family gradually got to know each other better. Clarice told Lily about her illness, explaining in a simple way that she had been very sad and confused, but that she was better now and wanted to take care of her forever. "You won't leave me again?" Lily asked. "Never again," Clarice promised. "I'll never separate from you again." "And Grandma Patty, is she coming with us?" The question that everyone feared had finally arrived. Clarice looked at Patty, who was again in a state of confusion, talking to herself about people who weren't there. "My dear," said Clarice gently, "Grandma Patty needs special care, care that I can't give her. But will she be alone?" "No," Erica intervened. "I've already talked to Marcia. She's going to take care of Patty, and you can visit her whenever you want. You promise?" "I promise." Lily approached Patty and held her hands affectionately. "Grandma, you took care of me when I needed you. Now other people are going to take care of you." Patty looked at Lily with a glimmer of recognition. "My granddaughter is going to be happy now." "I will, Grandma. I'm going to be very happy." "Then that's good. That's what I wanted." The moment of farewell between Lily and Patty was touching and painful. The girl kissed the face of the woman who had been her protector during the most difficult years of her life, promising that she would never forget her. When they left back for Harmony Creek, Lily was on Clarice's lap, finally reunited with the mother she had dreamed of finding for so long, but she also carried the sadness of leaving behind Patty, the person who had given her love when she needed it most. "Mom," she said during the trip, "can I ask you a question?" "You can ask as many as you want. Why did you get sick? Was it because of me?" Clarice felt her heart tighten. "No, my dear, I was already sick before you were born. I had a disease in my mind that made me do bad things, but you were the most beautiful thing that happened in my life. And now you're cured. I'm getting better every day. And do you know what makes me stronger? Knowing that I have you to take care of." When they arrived at the Sterling mansion in Harmony Creek, the atmosphere was completely different from what they had left behind. Gary and Karen were waiting for them at the entrance, and for the first time since the cemetery, their faces didn't show hostility. "Welcome," said Karen, addressing both Clarice and Lily. "This is your home now." Lily observed the big house with curiosity, but without the dazzle that many children would demonstrate. Her years of hardship had taught her that what really mattered weren't material things, but people. "It's very big," she commented. "And you can explore every corner," said Antonia, taking her cousin's hand. "Do you want to see your room?" "I have a room just for me." "You do? Grandpa Richard prepared it especially for you." When they went up to the second floor and Antonia opened the door of the room that Richard had remodeled for Lily, the girl was paralyzed. It was exactly as she remembered from her happiest dreams. Pink walls, a four-poster bed, bookshelves full of books and toys, and a small table perfect for drawing. "Grandpa did this for me?" she asked, her voice full of emotion. "He did," confirmed David. "He loved you very much and wanted you to have everything a girl could wish for." Lily walked slowly through the room, touching the toys and books that Richard had carefully chosen for her. On top of the dresser, she found a framed photo, herself younger on Richard's lap, both smiling at the camera. "I remember this photo," she said. It was the day he gave me the bracelet. At that moment, Gary appeared at the door of the room. Lily cringed slightly, still remembering the way he had treated her at the cemetery. "Lily," he said, entering the room and kneeling down to her height. "I want to apologize. I treated you very badly, and that was wrong. You're my niece, part of our family, and you should have been received with love from the first moment." The girl studied Gary's face, seeing sincerity in his eyes for the first time. "Were you angry because Grandpa gave me money?" she asked with the direct honesty of children. "I was," admitted Gary, "but I realized I was wrong. Money doesn't matter. What matters is family, and you're our family. So now can I call you Uncle Gary?" "You can, and I promise I'll be the best uncle I can be." That night, during dinner, something happened that no member of the Sterling family had experienced for years. A truly happy meal. Lily told stories about her life with Patty, making everyone laugh with her innocent observations about the world. Clarice, still fragile but visibly relieved, patiently answered the dozens of questions that her nephews asked about where she had been and how she was feeling. Erica, observing the scene from the table, felt a mixture of joy and melancholy. Her mission was complete. She had reunited a family and ensured that Lily had the future she deserved. But she also knew that now it was time to step aside and let them build their own bonds. "Aunt Erica," said Lily suddenly, "are you leaving now?" "I need to go, honey. You're with your family now. But you're my family too. You saved me. "And you saved me too," replied Erica, moved. "You taught me that it's worth fighting for what's right." "Then you have to stay for Sunday dinner," declared Antonia. "From now on, every Sunday we're going to have family dinner, and you're part of our family." Gary, surprising everyone, agreed. "Antonia is right. Erica, you'll always be welcome in this house." That night, when Lily finally lay down in her new bed, in her pink room, with her real mother sitting beside her singing a lullaby, she said a silent prayer to Richard, thanking him for having taken care of her even without her knowing, and to Patty, who had given her love when she needed it most. But the story wasn't over yet. In the next few days, other revelations would arise, bringing surprises that not even Erica had imagined possible. 3 weeks after the family reunion, life at the Sterling mansion had found a surprisingly harmonious rhythm. Lily attended a private school nearby, where she quickly stood out for her intelligence and ease in making friends. Clarice was in treatment with a city psychologist and worked part-time in the family construction office, helping with simple administrative tasks. It was a Saturday morning when Dr. Harrison Ford appeared at the house with a mysterious expression on his face, carrying a folder of documents. "I apologize for showing up unannounced," he said to Gary, "but I discovered something in Richard's personal papers that I believe the entire family should know." Everyone gathered in the living room: Gary, Karen, David, Antonia, Clarice, and Lily. Erica was also present, as she had become a constant presence in the house, helping Clarice in the transition and becoming an almost maternal figure for Lily. "What did you discover, Doctor?" asked Clarice, a growing worry in her voice. "Well," began Dr. Ford, "while organizing the final documents of the estate, I found a sealed letter that Richard had left to be opened only after the family reunion. He showed a thick envelope with the Sterling family seal and the unmistakable handwriting of Richard. In the letter," continued the lawyer, "there are important revelations about the family's past and about Richard's true intentions regarding the inheritance." Gary shifted uncomfortably in his armchair. "What kind of revelations, Doctor?" Ford opened the envelope carefully and began to read. "To my beloved family, if you are reading this letter, it means that you have managed to reunite as I always dreamed. There are truths that I have kept with me for many years, thinking I was protecting you, but now I realize that I have only created more pain and separation." The lawyer paused and looked at everyone present. "May I continue?" Everyone nodded, although the tension was palpable. "First, I want you to know that I never stopped loving Clarice, even when she distanced herself from the family. Every day she was away was a torment for me. and I deeply regret not being stronger to defend her when she needed me most." Clarice began to cry softly, being comforted by Lily, who, at 6 years old, demonstrated an impressive emotional maturity. "Second, I want Gary to know that I have always loved him as a son, but that his actions towards Clarice deeply disappointed me. When he prevented her from seeing me 5 years ago, I found out through investigators I hired. It was then that I started looking for Lily on my own." Gary paled. He knew he was being confronted with the truth about his lies, but now in front of the entire family. "Third, and most important, there's something about the inheritance that I need to explain. The 50-50 split was not made to punish Gary, but to ensure that Lily had the resources she needed for a dignified life. However, I have established a condition that can only now be fulfilled." Everyone leaned forward, eager to hear what this condition would be. "Lily's inheritance will only become definitive if the family demonstrates that it is truly united. If Clarice and Lily are accepted and loved as full members of the family, then everything will proceed as established. However, if there is any sign of rejection, cruelty, or attempt to separate mother and daughter, the entire inheritance, including the part intended for Gary, will be donated to charity." The silence that followed was absolute. Richard had created a mechanism to ensure that his family stayed together, using the inheritance itself as collateral. "There's more," continued Dr. Ford. "I have named 3 people to observe and evaluate whether this condition is being met. My lawyer, Dr. Harrison Ford, the journalist Erica Powell, who I knew would one day get involved in Lily's life, and a third observer who until now has remained anonymous." "Who is the third observer?" asked David. "Norma Silver," revealed Dr. Ford. "During all these months, she has been reporting to me how the family was reacting to Lily's presence." Gary got up abruptly. "You were spying on us?" "We were fulfilling Richard's will," Dr. Ford corrected. "And I must say that the initial reports were worrying." "And now?" asked Karen, her voice tense. "Now," said a voice from the door, "the reports are much more positive." Everyone turned to see Norma Silver entering the room, invited by Dr. Ford to participate in this final revelation. "Norma," said Gary, still processing the situation, "you've been watching us all this time." "I've been fulfilling a promise I made to Mr. Sterling before he passed," she replied with dignity. "A promise to protect Lily and ensure that she was treated with the love she deserves." "And what is your final report?" asked Clarice. Norma smiled, looking at Lily, who was sitting on her mother's lap. "My report is that this family has learned what it means to truly love. I saw Gary apologize from the heart. I saw Karen take care of Lily as if she were her own daughter. I saw David and Antonia protect their cousin with courage. And above all, I saw Clarice rebuild her life with strength and determination." Dr. Ford consulted his papers again. "There's one last part of the letter. If my family has passed the test of love, then I want you to know that I always believed you could do it. Lily is not just a child who needs care. She is a gift that God sent to heal the wounds that we ourselves created. Love her, protect her, and let her teach you what it took me a lifetime to learn. That family isn't about blood or money, but about choosing to love each other every day." When the lawyer finished reading, there were tears in the eyes of everyone present. Lily, who had listened to everything carefully, finally spoke. "Grandpa Richard was very wise, wasn't he?" "He was, my dear," replied Clarice, kissing her daughter's head. "And he's happy now? Up in heaven?" "I'm sure he is," said Gary, his voice choked. "Very happy to see our family united." At that moment, something unexpected happened. Lily got up from her mother's lap and walked to Gary. Without saying anything, she hugged him, and he returned the hug with an emotion he hadn't felt in years. "Uncle Gary," she said, "thank you for letting Mom and me stay." "Thank you, little one," he replied, "for teaching us how to be a real family." Dr. Ford put the documents away, satisfied. "Well, considering what I observed today, and based on the reports from Norma and Erica, I officially declare that the condition established by Richard has been met. The inheritance will be distributed according to the original will." "And if things change in the future?" asked Karen. "They won't change," said Antonia with conviction, "because now we understand what Grandpa wanted to teach us. We understand that having a big and loving family is much better than having a lot of money and being alone." David agreed. "Besides, Lily has made us better people. We don't want to go back to being the way we were before." Erica, who had observed the whole scene with emotion, finally spoke. "Richard would be very proud of all of you. He achieved what he wanted most, a family united by love." Later that day, when the visitors had left and the house was only with the family, they gathered in the garden for a casual barbecue. Lily played with Antonia, teaching her to draw the birds that she had always drawn as a symbol of freedom. "You know," David said to his cousin, "before you arrived, our family was like a house, beautiful on the outside, but empty on the inside." "And now?" asked Lily. "Now it's a house full of real love." Clarice, watching her daughter play with her cousins, approached Gary. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" "For having the courage to change, for having chosen love instead of pride." "I should be thanking you," he replied. "You gave me the chance to be a better brother, and Lily gave me the chance to be a better man." That night, when Lily was being put to sleep, she asked a question that deeply touched Clarice. "Mom, will every day be like this now, with all the family together and happy?" "Not every day will be perfect," Clarice replied honestly. "Sometimes we'll have problems, sometimes we'll be sad, but the important thing is that we'll face everything together as a family. And you'll never get sick again and have to leave." "I'll never leave again," promised Clarice. "And if one day I get sad again, you'll help me get better, won't you?" "I will. And Uncle Gary, Aunt Karen, David and Antonia will also help, because family takes care of each other." As Lily fell asleep in her pink room, surrounded by the love she had always deserved, out there, the rest of the family gathered on the porch to talk about the future. For the first time in years, it was a future that they would all face together, united by the most precious lesson that a 6-year-old child had taught them: that true love has the power to heal any wound and unite any family. 6 months had passed since the revelation of Richard's last letter, and the transformation of the Sterling family was visible to the entire town of Harmony Creek. The family construction company, now under a more ethical and transparent management, had recovered financially and gained new, important contracts. But the family's true wealth lay in the union they had found. It was a sunny December morning when Lily, now 7 years old, woke up earlier than usual. Today was a special day. Exactly 1 year since that first traumatic encounter in the town cemetery, but this time the visit would be different. "Mom," she said, entering Clarice's room, "can I go talk to Grandpa Richard today?" "Of course, my dear. The whole family is going together." The family had established a tradition of visiting Richard's grave on the anniversary of that first encounter, as a way to thank him for everything he had done to unite them. But today would be special for another reason. When they arrived at the cemetery, they found Erica waiting for them next to the tomb, accompanied by a surprise that made Lily shout with joy. Patty was there, in a wheelchair, with a serene smile on her face. "Grandma Patty!" Lily ran to hug her. "My dear granddaughter," said Patty, who was having one of her more lucid days, "I came to say goodbye to your Grandpa Richard too." Marcia explained that Patty had insisted on coming, saying that she needed to thank the good man who took care of her granddaughter. Although her mental condition remained unstable, in moments of lucidity she always asked about Lily and showed genuine joy knowing that the girl was well. The family gathered around the tomb, now adorned with fresh flowers that Lily had chosen personally. The girl approached the tombstone and began to speak, as if Richard could hear her. "Hi, Grandpa Richard. I came to tell you how we are. Mum is doing well, working at Uncle Gary's company and taking her medicine every day. Uncle Gary has turned into a very good person. Yesterday he taught me how to ride a bike. Aunt Karen made me a new dress for the school party. David is dating a very nice girl, and Antonia got only good grades this year. She paused, as if expecting an answer, and then continued. And you know what? I learned to read very well. Aunt Erica gave me a book about birds, and now I know the name of all the ones that visit our garden. I also started learning piano. Antonia said you liked music very much. Clarice approached and put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. Dad, thank you for never giving up on us, for having believed that our family could be fixed. Gary, visibly moved, also spoke. Dad, I apologize for having taken so long to understand what really mattered. I promise that I will honor your teachings for the rest of my life. One by one, each member of the family shared their words with Richard, creating a moment of deep connection that definitively sealed the union between them. After the visit to the cemetery, they gathered at the mansion for a special lunch. During the meal, Dr. Ford arrived with final documents about the inheritance and some important news. The administration of Lily's assets is working perfectly, he reported. The investments are yielding well, and she will have more than enough resources for a top-quality education and a prosperous future. And there's more, added Gary. We've decided to expand the construction company to include a social project. We're going to build affordable housing for needy families, and we want to call the project Richard's Homes, in honor of Dad. And I want to help, said Lily excitedly. Can I design the gardens of the houses? Of course you can, replied David. In fact, we had an idea. How about creating a program where children in the city can participate in the planning of green spaces? The idea thrilled the whole family. It was a way to honor Richard's memory while helping other children, creating a legacy of love that would extend far beyond the Sterling family. Later that afternoon, while the adults discussed the details of the social project, Lily and Antonia went to the garden. There, the girl who previously drew sad birds in the dirt now created true works of art in her sketchbook, full of vibrant colors and life. Lily, said Antonia, observing a drawing where the entire Sterling family appeared with wings, flying together among colorful clouds. Do you still remember when you lived on the streets? I remember, replied Lily calmly. I remember the hunger, the cold, the fear. But I also remember the kindness of Grandma Patty and the affection of Grandpa Richard. Doesn't it make you sad when you remember? Sometimes it does. But Mom taught me that the bad things in the past serve for us to value the good things in the present even more. You're very wise for being only 7 years old. It's because I've been through a lot of things. But now I'm learning new things every day. How to love a big family, how to share toys, how to help others. At that moment, Clarice approached the girls. Her transformation in recent months was remarkable. She had gained healthy weight. Her eyes had regained their sparkle, and mostly there was a serenity in her posture that revealed someone at peace with herself. Girls, I have a surprise, she said, sitting on the grass next to them. What surprise, Mom? Remember that I always said I wanted to go back to school? Well, I enrolled in the education college in Philadelphia. I was accepted to start next year. Lily hugged her mother tightly. That's great. Are you going to be a teacher? I am. I want to work with children who have gone through difficulties like you did. I want to help them find hope. And can I help too? Of course you can. You're going to be my special assistant. Meanwhile, in the living room of the house, Gary was talking to Erica about a subject that had been maturing for months. Erica, I have a proposal for you, he said. What kind of proposal? We want you to be responsible for the communication of the social project. Coordinate the dissemination, tell the stories of the benefited families, document the impact on the community. Erica smiled. It's a tempting offer, but I'm still working as a freelancer. It would be a full-time job with excellent salary and mostly the chance to continue making a difference in the lives of people who need it. And would I have complete editorial autonomy? Complete. We want the stories to be told with the same honesty and sensitivity that you demonstrated with the story of our family. Erica accepted right away. She felt that her life had found a greater purpose since she met Lily, and now she would have the opportunity to use her journalistic skills to create positive social impact. That night, during dinner, the family made plans for the future. David spoke about his desire to study architecture to contribute to the social project. Antonia revealed that she wanted to be a child psychologist, inspired by her cousin's recovery journey. Karen surprised everyone by saying that she would like to volunteer with women in vulnerable situations. "You know," Gary said, looking around the table, "a year ago I thought I knew what success was. I thought that having money and power was all that mattered." "And now?" asked Clarice. "Now I know that true success is being seated at this table, surrounded by people I love and who truly love me. It's seeing my daughter and my niece growing up with the right values. It's knowing that we're building something bigger than ourselves." "Grandpa Richard knew that all along," observed Lily. "That's why he made that plan to bring the family together." "Exactly," agreed Karen. "He forced us to choose between money and love, and thank God we chose love." When bedtime arrived, Lily followed her nightly ritual: hug each member of the family, thank them for the day, and head to her pink room. But before falling asleep, she did something that had become a tradition. She wrote in her diary a few words about the day. "Dear Diary," she wrote with her still childish but increasingly firm handwriting. "Today was a very special day. We visited Grandpa Richard and told him all the good things that are happening. I think he was happy, because the wind swayed the flowers on his tomb as if it were a nod. I learned an important thing today. Family isn't just who you're born with. Family is also who you choose to be with, even when it's difficult. Grandma Patty will always be my family of the heart, even though she's not my real grandmother. Aunt Erica is also family, because she saved me when I needed it most. And I think Grandpa Richard was right. Love is stronger than anything bad. Love can heal sick people, it can bring separated families together, and it can transform bad people into good people. Tomorrow starts another day of adventures with my big and loving family. I can't wait to see what good things will happen." She closed the diary, put it on the bedside table, and snuggled under the covers. Through the window of her room, she could see the stars shining in the Harmony Creek sky, and for a moment she imagined that one of them was Richard, taking care of the family he loved so much. That night, everyone in the Sterling mansion slept in peace, knowing that they had found what really mattered in life. And somewhere between dreams and reality, a girl who had begun her journey, desperately begging to say goodbye to a grandpa she barely knew, now slept peacefully, surrounded by the love of a family that chose to be better because of her. Lily's story had begun with suffering and tears in a cold cemetery, but it ended with love, hope, and the promise of a bright future built on the solid foundations of a truly united family. And so, the girl who once drew trapped birds finally learned to fly, not to escape, but to reach all the dreams that a courageous and loved child could dream.